Hello and welcome to Mindful Mondays. A friend of mine pointed out a couple of years ago that he had adopted a policy whenever someone asked, "Will you pray for me about something?" rather than nodding and saying, "I'll keep you in my prayers," or, jotting it down on a prayer list or whatever, he would just stop and say in that moment, "Yes, I'll pray with you about it right now." He said he's never had a single person decline that offer. Not a single person. I'm sure he's telling the truth about that because it has also been my own experience that when I ask to pray for someone, they generally never decline the offer. Now, I'm not saying I ask them to pray with me, but when I just offer to pray for someone, they generally just don't decline the offer. When I worked at a high school, I can remember that in my time off, I would track down kids who had court dates coming up and just say, "Hey, do you have a moment so I can pray with you about your court date?" And no one ever turned me down. Even the kids who didn't go to church, even the toughest kids with the worst relationship with police and other authority figures. If I went to them and asked, "May I pray for you about your court date?" every single one took me up on it without an exception. Here are some good things that happen if you just stop to pray with the person when they ask you to keep them in your prayers, rather than promising that you will just put them on your list. First, you can be 100% sure that you are telling them the truth when you promise to pray for them. No opportunity to accidentally forget. If you've always just promised, "Yes, I'll keep you in my prayers," I'm sure that, like me, sometimes you haven't. Sometimes you've forgotten. Sometimes it's went right out of your mind. Probably more than once. It's happened to me a lot. When you just do it in the moment with the person, takes away the possibility that you're accidentally lying to them about whether you're going to pray for them or not. To the person for whom you're praying, they'll know that when you say you're praying for them, it's the truth. They'll know it's sincere, they'll know your good intentions, they'll know that you're not just trying to brush them off and get them to stop talking about themselves. 3, if you do this with some intention, paying attention, listening to God while you're praying for the person, you're opening a door for God to speak into that situation in a moment in some way that you could never manufacture. Why not open that door? You don't know what God might do in the moment. 4, you don't have to keep track of the little piece of paper or little scrap that you wrote their prayer request down on and stuffed in your purse or pocket. Someone else I know recommended this, that if after you've prayed with the person, that if they're asking for continued prayer about it, you say this: "I'll pray for you as God brings you to my mind." And then you just invite God to do that, to bring it to your mind. Then you can relax. You don't have to save the little pieces of paper written down. You can relax. You can trust that you asked God to bring them to mind as needed. And if more is needed, that He will bring them to mind. And then you can quickly pray for them as soon as they cross your mind. You'll know the memory of that conversation or whatever is your cue. Time to pray for that person again. And finally, 5, you get some practice praying aloud in front of other people, and you cannot get comfortable doing it if you don't do it. That's the way that works. We will never get comfortable praying with others and for others if we just think about ideas and study about it. The way you get comfortable is by doing it. So this is your opportunity to practice. And really, you even get a chance to model for the other person that praying aloud doesn't have to be fancy or deeply theological or long. Because let's face it, some of the people who are asking you to pray maybe are doing so because they think you have some kind of special access pass to God, some special level of expertise that gets things out of God that they can't. Not everyone, but there sometimes are people who ask for that reason. And so praying aloud with them can help to demonstrate to them that prayer can be simple and short and real and something that they can do for themselves as well. No harm in asking for prayer, but maybe you'll be helping people learn that, oh, well, I can pray like that. So you might be helping grow them in their prayer life. What a great opportunity, right? I haven't yet fully adopted my friend's policy of doing that every single time that someone says, will you pray for me, just stopping and doing it in the moment. I haven't, but I think I should. I'd like to move in that direction. I do it sometimes, and sometimes I put them on the list. Sometimes I remember them, and sometimes I don't. So that's a good reason to go to doing it in the moment. For sure, I have never one time regretted stopping and praying with anyone along the way, ever. That's just never been a regrettable thing to do. So it's worth stepping out and doing it. So that's our challenge for this week. The next time someone says to you or to me, will you pray for me about anything at all, let's just stop and do it in the moment. Invite God to do a good thing, and then watch and see what happens next. I don't think you'll regret it. That's all for now. I will see you next week.